Welcome to today's episode of The Growth Zone. I am Christian Bartsch. What is the core benefit of listening to this show? Business leaders in corporate and privately held companies gain insights into trends and strategies that provide them with a competitive advantage in the marketplace. Each episode focuses on an area such as marketing, sales, innovation, or funding that is absolutely critical to the growth of companies, whether they are startups or corporate global players, where management needs to juggle the challenges of market entry or knowing how to navigate the uncertainties of disruptive developments. Mind feeding is where clarity evolves and helps solving organizational challenges. For those who listen to the entire episode, I have a special surprise gift. I am working on some great guests that are industry leaders in management, innovation, and marketing. Let's get started on today's episode. So I have today with me James Kandasamy, who is the principal of a chief investment group based in Austin, Texas. Our topic today is how to invest in commercial real estate passively. And who is he? So James has a pragmatic skill set in solid communication, interpersonal, analytic, and organizational leadership. Besides that, he is deeply rooted in real estate investment. That makes him really unique. So let's go and listen into the conversation. So today I'm with James Kandasamy from Austin, Texas. And James, can you please tell us, before we go deep into our topic today, a little bit more about yourself?
Sure, Kristen. Thanks for having me on your show. So I'm a James Kandasamy from Austin, Texas. Used to be a corporate employee for almost 22 years in the U.S. And after that, I resigned from my full-time job like 3 years ago, and now doing full-time commercial real estate investment. And we own almost like 1,700 units in Central Texas, which is Austin and San Antonio, Texas, and almost valued at $130 million in assets. And we specialize in buying commercial real estate by raising money from private investors who want to invest with us on a passive basis. The passive means it's a hands-off investment basis. So we do the active investment, and our passive investors join the ride with us, but they don't do the work.
So it's like they invest, they provide you the funds, and you look for the properties, you find them, acquire them, and as well, I suppose, you redevelop them.
Absolutely, absolutely. So we are the active investors, and they are the passive investors, where their primary job is to give us the fund, and we do all the management. And end of the day, we split the profit between us and them.
Yeah, that's great, because for today, our topic is how to invest in commercial real estate passively. What's really one of the key issues that people sometimes find when they're trying to do it maybe themselves versus going with people like you, for instance?
Oh, it's a big difference, right? First of all, not everyone can go and buy a commercial real estate. We specialize in buying apartment complex in Texas, and not everyone can go and buy a $20 million, $30 million apartment complex, right? So, working with us, basically we pulled a group of people, together, and we invest uh, together, right? So not everyone don't bring a $10 million check, right? But you can bring $100,000 check, and you can join with another hundred other people to get that $10 million. So you own a small portion of the whole investment without doing the work. At the same time, you're able to participate in this cool commercial real estate that you can drive by and see when you drive by nearby the properties.
Yeah, then you must be as well working with a lot of brokers as well to find and source the properties that you want to acquire and decide as well which do you buy, which do you maybe have to add maybe more cash as well in order to redevelop them and so on, that they are in a decent state that somebody wants to rent it out or buy it or whatever.
Yeah, correct. So our business model is very simple. Actually, it's not very simple, but I'm going to make it simple. We buy a property that has work, and we remodel them. We increase the operating income, which basically increases the value of that building. While we increase it for the next 3 to 5 years, we also have cash flow that coming from the building, right? So let's say we have a 300 units apartment, we have cash flow coming from that unit, and that cash flow is being distributed to our investors. At the same time, once we improve the property, when we sell it, we also get a sales profit, right? Because now we have increased the income since the time that we buy it. So now that sales profit is being shared. So we have cash flow from normal operation. At the same time, we also have income from the sale as well. So that's how we and our investors make money in this business.
Yeah, and these properties that you then buy, it's I suppose it's a multiple door property.
Yes, yeah, we call it apartment complex in the US. It's usually like we buy like 100 to 300 units. So multiple doors all in one location. So we get that
Mhm.
economies of scale, right? Because all in one
Yeah.
place, right? And the business model is people rent from each of these units rather than
Mhm.
owning them outright, right? They rent. So we manage the whole property management of this whole
Yeah, and then
apartment.
you maintain as well an apartment. You've got all the contracts, I suppose, with all the
Yes.
companies that supply parts, repair parts, whether it's repairing the toilets or the shower or electricity and so on, which gives you as well economy of scale when you're sourcing, whether it's parts for let's say maintaining the properties or the people who are going there and do the maintenance. It's of course for you, I suppose, cheaper to go and get one company and let's say fix five apartments than somebody else having to call 5 times somebody to fix 5 different apartments in different locations. And it's of course more economical, and you reduce as well your operational costs,
Yep.
which is your big advantage. And of course, since you're doing this for several years, you know which companies are doing a good job instead of trying each time to find a new provider, service provider, or company that fixes the stuff or supplies parts and other stuff, that they're not scamming you, that you've got good quality, and because otherwise it would just devalue the property.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah, we have our own employees who become maintenance people,
Mhm.
and they maintain the whole complex, right? So it's much more more cost efficient in terms of maintaining the whole apartment. And you're right. I mean, the more we take care of it, the value goes up, and it's up well kept, right? It's the look of it is looks much better. Our residents are happy, and everyone makes more money, right? Because we're providing value.
Yeah, and you get as well residents that are, let's say, treating the property in a nice, decent way and paying, of course, rent in a reliable way instead of defaulting. So that reduces as well the risk for your investors, I suppose.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. The more you take care of the community, everyone wins, right? So that's a good part.
Yeah. So, of course, at a certain point, as you said, you'll eventually start selling as well the property when you've had it maybe for 3 or 5 years or so. Do you just sell individual units, or do you look for other investors or real estate operators who prefer to buy like 50, 100, or 500 apartment units, or buy the entire complex?
Oh, we always buy and sell the entire complex.
Ah, yeah.
Yeah, that's how the complexes are being run in the US apartment complex. It's
Hmm.
always the whole thing. We can't sell it separately. I mean, that's called a condo conversion, and we don't do that. Yeah.
Yeah, it would be as well, I suppose, as well, legal wise, a huge cost. And the lawyers would be, of course, happy. They would say it's Christmas time for us. But
Correct, correct. Yeah.
of course, for the real estate investor, will say, why is so much money going? Oh, the lawyers are being fed. They need to be fed. It's soon is Thanksgiving, so we need to feed them. Otherwise, they are
Yeah,
hungry.
yeah,
But otherwise, it's a good time. And I suppose, of course, once the property is sold, they see the money coming back. Of course, till it's sold, they have, of course, all the cash, the payouts that they get from you. So they see it's a good investment. And I can mention some of the investors stay with you as well over several years and reinvest again and join other opportunities that you have, because
yeah,
it's surely not the only project that you're running simultaneously.
yeah. We have like 9 projects right now. We have like almost 228 investors. We have raised almost $35 million. So yeah, a lot of my investors reinvest with us because we have a good track record in giving good returns to our investors.
Hmm. So let's say I would be investing with you, let's say 1 million or so, or 100,000, doesn't matter, whatever. What kind of return on investment would I expect with the current situation that we have?
So the overall investment return it would average around 13 to 18% cash on
Hmm.
cash and IRR.
Hmm.
So 13 to 18% is what you can expect overall, right? Throughout 5 years, right? But if you look at
Hmm.
operational, remember I said during the operational stage, you make some portion, and the sales, you make some portion, right? So during the operation, you make
Hmm.
like 6 to maybe 10% cash return. And when you sell, you get the remaining another, 8%, 9%, return as well. So you make like almost, 13 to 18% cash on cash, or 13 to 18% IRR on your investment. So for $1 million, you just
That's good. That's actually quite good, because in other areas nowadays, you don't. If you're lucky, you get maybe 5%, and that must be really a really good thing. When you look in whether you go in bonds or the other areas, you might get nowadays maybe just 1% or something. So it proves
yeah,
that real estate is still one of the safest areas to invest. That usually the property doesn't isn't going to decline in value. Usually land prices are going up all the time. And yeah, of course, there are things that can happen. You can have a fire and the whole property burns down. Okay, that's really bad luck. But usually, if you do your whole thing properly and so on, there isn't much of a risk
yeah.
that you would have to
Well,
expect.
Well, even fire, we have insurance, right? So
Mm,
as long as you have good insurance, you should be
yeah.
okay. And we specialize on apartment complex, which is residential. So
Mm,
Maslow's hierarchy of needs. You need safety, shelter, and food, right? So you is
yeah.
fundamental, right? Even during COVID now, COVID-19, right? All most of the hotels and retails are you know doing very bad, but everybody stays in the house, right? So everybody need to pay their rent, right? And if they don't pay the rent, even the government doesn't want them to be homeless, right? So the government now start helping people paying rent, right? That's what's happening in the US. So there's always a need to stay in a house. So that's why, I mean, apartment complex, like the business that we do,
Mm.
is there's always a need for it.
Yeah, and I think when you look at it, how companies as well, corporates and so on, many corporations, whether it's in USA, Canada, Germany, England, even South Africa, and so on, where I have all my contacts, I hear so many businesses and big brand names. They're all keeping their employees even till end of the year at home, which of course I think is going to shift as well the way. Tenants and buyers decide they want to have more space, because if you of course are usually working 8 to 10 hours a day in the office, you don't care. But if you're stuck at home all the time, you say, I don't want to work from my living room. I need an extra room to have my peace. Of course, if the kid has to do homeschooling, you can't do homeschooling and at the same time do, let's say, sales calls or do program software or do some kind of marketing design, right? Good marketing copy or other kind of stuff. You need your personal space. So people will need more space. It's not just better telecommunication and so on, better internet connection. They want to have better space to stay, because they are now maybe stuck, let's say, 20 hours a day. If you would say that somebody might go maybe for a few hours shopping, for a walk, another stuff, walk the dog. Otherwise, they're stuck indoors.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. Yeah,
So
I
they
think
want
everybody's
better real
working
estate.
from home, right? So, all, I mean, as I said, we specialize in home business, home rental business, and we didn't see much impact on our business due to COVID.
Yeah, and I think as well, if you redesign the houses and everything nicely, and it's a nice apartments, and you'll get as well better prices as well, better rent as well. Of course, from people who say, "I want to have more space." I didn't need it before, but now I want to have more space. So people are moving into these instead of having too many apartments that might not be that easily rented out. So I suppose empty empty apartments won't be that high ratio. Or how is it usually now at the moment? How do you see it?
No, I mean, because of COVID-19, no one is leaving their house. People are not moving to another apartment. So our occupancy is really high, right? So our collection has dropped a bit, right?
Mhm.
Because people, lost their jobs and all that. It dropped a bit, but we're still above 90%, 92% collection, which is really good, right? So because as I say, the government is helping them as well because they don't want people to be evicted, right? Because they didn't pay rent.
Yeah. And even those 10% that you might have at the moment can't collect, they might, even once they've got a new, better paying job, they might get the money back and they're able as well to repay it. And because, of course, they don't want to move. Maybe they're quite happy staying there. It's just not they didn't intentionally not pay you. They just had an unfortunate situation to lose their job and had to then or be got their salaries cut and other kind of stuff. So they, of course, eventually they want to repay so that they don't get on a bad list of people you want eventually to get rid of when you can evict them. So, of course, certainly those 10%, at least a certain part of that, you might be able to get back anyway, which isn't totally lost.
Yeah, yeah. Well, our operational break even, expense, we are like at 70%. So, actually the additional 20% that we get, 70 to 90% is actually still cash flowing. So all our properties are still cash flowing. We are still making money, but it's a bit lower than before COVID. But we are still making money, which is awesome, right? In this market, if you can make money.
Yeah, especially when you think of it, and the other kind of commercial real estates like office space and so on. So many companies are going out of office space because they don't need the office. Everybody is in home, and that's your business, which is good. You offer, let's say, the home offices, which is exactly what everybody wants now, instead of offices where nobody wants to sit because they fear that they might get sick and all that kind of stuff. But at home, you're safe. You've got a nice environment, and if the boss is happy that you're doing a good job, he'll continue keeping them and paying them well. Because of course, when you think of it, all the operational costs that a company has with an office, it's not just the simple things like toilet paper and water and wastewater and other kinds of stuff, electricity, all the equipment, the space, and somebody has to clean the desks and all this kind of stuff. That is not necessary. It's a lot of money saved. And they can even add a little bit of extra bonus on the salary of the people, and they're still saving money compared to having everybody sitting in an office.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. I mean, yeah, a lot of companies are realizing now, right, that they can work from home, right? Why you want to have a real life, office, right? Except the kids are at home too, so that can be a problem. but 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 now in the US, I think the kids are going back to school as well, so which is good.
Yeah, here in Germany as well. It's just, of course, when you have these phases where you suddenly have to do homeschooling again, you think, oh, well, I'm actually not a teacher, but I'm somehow have to explain something. And sometimes, of course, certain things you can explain, and certain things you say, oh, uh, either I've forgotten it or I didn't pay attention to that topic.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you notice, but yeah, usually most of the things we don't usually not everything what they learn in school we need, but for business it's great thing because we see as well what kind of businesses work in the current situation. And as you see, your investors, you've got a good number of over 230 investors. They're obviously seeing a good return and the cash flow is running. And hey, as you said, even 90% compared to break even of 70, it's a good ratio.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. It's very hard to find businesses now which is still cash flowing, right? Other than the online business, everything else is down, right? So, so, so we're still doing pretty well. in our business.
And investors, are they all from the US, or how is it?
So maybe 90% are from the US. Some are from Canada. I do have some
Mhm.
investors in Switzerland and some in other countries as well. But the way overseas people invest is they have to create a US entity and they can invest with us, right?
Mm.
So that's the best way. That's how a lot of overseas people are investing with us. You just create a US entity where you take care of the tax part, and you should be good to invest with us in the US.
Yeah, because it's the thing is as well, when you think of it, I think US laws in relation to renting out apartments and so on are much more beneficial for the owner of the property than you have, for instance, in Europe. So that's why I hear from many people as well that they tend to go either towards countries like, let's say, Cyprus or Spain or that kind of places, or the UK. And the best alternative at the moment is obviously been the last few years going to the US, which is, I think, offers as well a huge variety. You get these big properties that you can't get here. Big
Yeah,
properties here, maybe you've got maybe this biggest, you might be lucky to get maybe 50 apartments or so. And that's not big scale when you try to get more of these and all in the same location as possible.
yeah.
It's not that easy.
I think the model of buying a multi-door building and renting them individually, I don't know. From what I know, is it existed only in the U.S. Maybe I'm wrong, but and even in the U.S., not all the states are landlord friendly, right? As you
Mhm.
mentioned just now, you want somewhere landlord friendly. So, like states in the East and West Coast, like New York and California, they're not very landlord friendly. But states like Texas, Florida, it's very landlord friendly.
Mhm. Oh,
So
yeah, that's why I suppose
that's
many
the
people invest in it. Mhm.
yeah.
Oh, yeah. That's great. So, yeah, it was great having you here on the show. I think we've definitely got quite a good insight in the real estate or all the other opportunities and so on. James, if people are interested in investing or getting in contact with you or to find out more, how can they get in contact? Where can they maybe find more information to decide whether they want to do business with you or offer you other kind of opportunities? Hello? Can you
So
hear
to,
me?
yeah, I can hear you. Sorry about that. I put on mute. So to get hold of me, you can go to my website called achieveinvestmentgroup.com, ACHIEVE, achieveinvestmentgroup.com. And my email is james at achieveinvestmentgroup.com. And if you come to my website, there's a link called Invest with Us. You fill up the form there and you comes into our database. You get my calendar link and you can talk to me as well so that we can establish some kind of relationship. But to get educated in this whole syndication model where you can invest without being active. I have a book which is a bestseller book in Amazon. You can get it at passiveinvestinginrealestate.com. Passiveinvestinginrealestate.com. So once you go to that website, you should be able to get my book for free, and you can learn all about how this business model works. And I would encourage that because I love people reading it and knowing what they're doing before throwing in money right to any investment.
Yes, that's really good because I can imagine that's a good thing. And I suppose if somebody wants to read it in print, do you have it as well available in print or can you order it on Amazon or how does
Yeah,
it work?
yeah, Amazon. Yeah, if you go to the same title, passive investing in
Mhm.
commercial real estate in Amazon, it's existing. You can find it in Kindle version, you can find it in physical book, and you can find it in audiobook as well. And it's an international bestseller, so absolutely you can find
Cool.
it in your country.
That's awesome. That's definitely awesome. It was great having you here on the show, and I'm sure we'll be talking again about other opportunities on other sides of the business that you're doing.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on your show, Kristen. Happy to add value.